Hi y'all, I'm Zane Dearien. I'm down here at Mississippi at the Mossy Oak Deer Camp, and today I'm about to show y'all how to cook up a wild boar pork chop from Gamekeeper's Butchery with the Harissa chili condiment. Started off, we're gonna show you all what all you need for this. Most importantly, Gamekeeper's Butchery wild boar chops. What you got here is almost like a T-bone. You got a couple good pieces of meat on either side with that bone. This is kind of important in the process because this bone and marrow in here will lend a lot of flavor and moisture into the meat as we're on there grilling it. As far as the harissa goes, we got dried Guajillo chilies. You can get those at any local grocery store. You can sub out whatever you'd like as far as dried chilies go. Red bell peppers. We have a mixture of red bell and sweet bell peppers. Tomatoes, garlic, lime, lemon, salt, pepper. And as far as spices today I'm gonna use ground cumin, paprika, and cayenne pepper. All that's up to your choice as far as spicy levels go, but paprika, cumin, and cayenne are the three main components in this dish. Last but not least, we'll add a little bit of tomato paste for depth and body to the condiment. All right, now let's get started. First thing we're gonna do, now that we have all of our ingredients here, we went ahead and kind of started steeping our dried chilies. This is an important part because when they come in, this is a Guajillo. As you can see here, what we do is we take our plates, de-stem them, just basically pop off the stem. And then I do half and half as far as seeds in the harissa and not. So I'll dump out half of them, add them into our steeping water, and then let those go. They only need about 30-45 minutes in hot water to get soft. What you're looking for is just to bring out that smokiness of the peppers. They naturally, when you dry them out, if you buy them from the store, they're gonna be dried out in a little bit of a smokehouse or an old barn where you have that residual smoke flavor. But you can also dry this in a smoking house if you have it, in a dehydrator, just out on the porch by a campfire. All that's great to add any kind of extra flavor into the pepper that you want. So what you're looking for is when you get your dried chilies, you're gonna want to see that they bend and super malleable to the point to where they don't break when they're dry. But what you have here is dried chili liquor. This is important to when we start blending later. Don't get rid of this. This water has a lot of smokiness and pepperiness, not capsaicin, but pepper flavor. So we have that dry hot water over it steeping, letting them get soft. Next part, we got our grill here fired up. You're gonna run it as hot as you can in the beginning for two reasons. You're gonna want to get this grill hot to let the ambient temperatures and convection of it naturally warm up. So when we get to the grill and the chops, you already have a good preheat. But you want it hot so that way when you're roasting off these peppers, tomatoes, you get a char and you're not actually cooking them all the way, but you're kind of steaming them and getting that smoky flavor on. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna lift up our grill here. We got it preset about 450 degrees. So we're gonna start loading up our peppers, tomatoes, and to get them start searing off. Leave the stem on, skin on, everything like that. Don't worry about de-seeding them right now. The flavors on these seeds are not super spicy, so they add a little bit of texture as well to it. Just gonna lay them on there. Get them all spread out. Gonna throw a couple tomatoes on there as well. Add a little depth to it. At this point, you can either leave your grill open, or what I like to do is I like to shut the lid. That kind of helps steam them and get the process working a little bit quicker. And then just flipping them throughout to make sure that we get a good even char over all of it. All right, we've got our peppers on. They've been roasting for a while, turned them a few times. What we're gonna end up doing, giving you a little sneak peek on what's going on in here. So we've got our peppers in here. Got a good, nice color on them. We're gonna kind of pull them off right now. Let them sit. So now that we have all the peppers and tomatoes charred up, what we're gonna do is we're gonna let them set just for a second, and then we're gonna take them, cut the tops off, get some of the chard off. You want some of this flavor. What this is gonna bring is another depth of flavor to the sauce. So what we're gonna do now, take the tomatoes and everything else. Gonna take your tomatoes, cut out the core, because the core is gonna be a little bit more difficult to break down. So what you're looking for is whenever you're cutting these tomatoes specifically out, you have this top little chunk where the stem was in that core. This is not gonna break down for how quick of a process we're going through in this. Even though it's going in a blender, you still need to pull that out because that will bounce around and get stuck in it, and then it's just not pleasant to bite down on. Continue to cut these out. We're gonna go ahead and load them up into our blender as we process this stuff so everything just goes straight in so we can get straight to blending. So this big bell pepper, now we're dead to something that has a little bit more char on it. You see, you can get that charred. You have a little bit of a layer of like a waxy film on them. You just want to take your hand. If you don't like working with your hands, paper towel is just as easy. Scrape off as much as you'd like because there is such a thing as too much of this kind of carbonation or carbonizing of the pepper in a sauce that would render it super bitter. You lose away that savory, smoky element and it just becomes a nasty bitterness, which is not what we're going for in this particular dish. So as far as bell peppers go, again, got my small paring knife. You could sure use a chef's knife if you need it, but I like to use as much as I can. So I'm gonna go straight at the top of this thing right here and just cut around it. What that's gonna do is it's gonna, seed pods connected to the stem, not anywhere else. So you're just gonna be able to pull that out. This one doesn't have a lot of seed pods in it, but there you go. You see that you got all your seeds in one hand, your good old bell pepper in the other. Just for the sake of how the blender's set up, and depends on your blender, you can use a RoboCube, a blender. You can sure run your knife through it if you don't have that, mortar or pestle. There's a lot of options available. So on to continuing the process here. Again, just cutting it into little strips, trying to save all that juice that we can, all that smokiness that we want. Throwing that in there. So now what we have is our roasted peppers that have been charred. We're gonna add these dried Guajillo chilies for us that we've rehydrated and reconstituted in just water. We're gonna add that to our blender. Again, you can kind of see when I squeeze this out, I'm trying to control as much moisture and liquid that I can going into this because I want to control the consistency. If you just go ahead and just willy flop everything in there, you're gonna have a wonky loose sauce, which is not what we want. But we're gonna save this liquor so when we start introducing the blender to this, we can control that consistency and level of liquidness in there. So that's good flavor to save. We're gonna take some nice garlic cloves. If you love garlic like myself, the more the merrier. Some people are afraid of it. Some people would rather use garlic powder. All by means. Only thing with garlic powder, doesn't quite translate the same way as it does with cloves. It can overpower stuff or gum up. We're gonna go about 8 cloves of garlic. This one doesn't matter how we cut them up. We're just gonna smash them, peel them, throw them in because it's gonna be buzzed up with the blender. So garlic clove on there. We still got the cap on. We're gonna leave it on for this one just because we're smashing it. And it helps us peel it off. You just wanna add as much fun to this dish as you possibly can when cooking. If the woody stem doesn't come with the paper, when you smash it, you can just lop it off. But we are blending it, so if a couple of them are in there, they'll get buzzed up pretty well. We have our tomatoes, roasted peppers, fresh garlic in the blender. We are going to add 16 ounces olive oil, and this will probably be enough. Just go ahead and dump her all in there. Probably reserve about 3 or 4 ounces. So we'll say 12 ounces of olive oil at the moment. We're gonna add salt to this. Easy to add, you can't ever take away. Good little pinch. Put the cap on, lock her down. So we've got our olive oil, garlic, roasted peppers, and tomato buzzed up in our Vitamix. We're gonna pop it up, take the top. We're gonna give it a taste. Smokiness, sweet, a lot of body. We're gonna take 1 lemon and 1 lime. We're gonna roll them. What this does is breaks all those little individual nodules and pods of juice in the lemons and limes. So once we get to the squeezing part, it makes it a lot easier. We're gonna take our knife, cut them in half. Careful with seeds. A lot of people will use strainers or something like that. I just use my fingers, kind of old school method. Put them in there. That way you can kind of separate your fingers, catch the seeds as it goes. And at this point, we are gonna add a tablespoon of tomato paste. What this is gonna do is it's gonna thicken, give it some body, but as we grill the chops with this stuff, this is gonna kind of caramelize and create a umami crust to the chop. Without it, it'll be just as great, but you're not gonna have as much body. All right, we've buzzed up the tomato paste, the lemon and lime juice. We're gonna give it a taste, check it for consistency. We're at a good baseline, and by baseline means a good starting point. What we're gonna do is add about a teaspoon of cumin. This is a very powerful spice. A little bit goes a long ways, but it can sure take over the party as far as flavors go, and you don't want that. We're gonna take some paprika. Paprika is gonna add depth, color to it. We're gonna go about a tablespoon of paprika. Last but not least, we got a little cayenne pepper. Cayenne, add that spice. This is now where you can start really adjusting the heat level on your harissa. We're gonna add a teaspoon cayenne. We're gonna give this a quick little buzz, get everything married up, taste it one last time, and then we'll get to cooking the pork chops. So we have a little bowl we're gonna use to do all of our fun stuff. And I'll show you guys what I mean by the texture and viscosity. This is the texture and the viscosity that I'm looking for in the cooking process, also in the finished process. You can see here, kind of like a tight, loose mayonnaise, I guess is the easiest way to describe it. Kind of chunky, a little smooth. Again, you can blend it all the way up and strain it out to make it super smooth if you want. But this is the texture in which we're looking for. So now that we have our harissa made, we're gonna take our Gamekeeper's Butchery wild boar hog chops. We're gonna lay them out. What I've done is I've laid them out on a paper towel just to kind of get that residual package and the juices off of here, because I want it dry as much as possible in my control before we go to the grill. What that's gonna do is ensure that we get proper grill marks, proper charring, and we don't get a steaming action. Have a good solid base to start on when seasoning. Season them liberally, making sure all sides are getting it. Flaky sea salt, Maldon salt, anything but iodized, but if that's all you have, it ain't gonna hurt nothing. You're gonna let that go. Just give it a few minutes just to come up to temp. Let that salt pull some of that moisture out and reintroduce it back into the meat and help it penetrate. So we're gonna go ahead and get our grill opened up. Got these salted. I'm gonna introduce a little fat to them. I'm gonna do olive oil, create that taste and aroma to the meat. You wanna make sure that you just kind of rub it around. Make sure everything's evenly coated. You don't want pooling. You don't want to give the fat, unless it's its own meat fat, a chance to drip down on the grill, because all you're gonna do is have a bad flare up. I go ahead at this point and add, since I've added some fat to the outside, reintroduce a little bit of more salt and a little bit of pepper. Chops are seasoned. We're gonna go ahead and set them on the grill. It's important here, you can kind of do whatever you want, railroad them, do whatever. I like to offset them, but first and foremost, I'll bring them back over here real quick so y'all see this bone cap. I wanna start the meat on the bone. What that's gonna do is heat that bone up and start cooking us from the inside out. That's also gonna render out all of that fat and connective tissue that's connected to that bone, because we're warming it up first. So now that we have our chops on the grill, we're gonna let them we're gonna close the lid on this to kind of contain the heat. We're gonna let this bone go, I'd say about 5-6 minutes, check it. You don't wanna get in a hurry when it comes to this. Even though your grill's going ripping hot, you're gonna wanna kinda let that bone heat up. Like I said, you're not gonna have to worry about a lot of char or burn on this end because all that's bone and you're gonna be able to cut a little bit of it away. So we're gonna let this go and get that warmed up, and then when we come back, we'll give it a good flip and see where we're at. All right, chops have been on there for a little bit, getting that bone nice and warmed up. Got the grill going. We're gonna pop her open, check them out. We've got a good little sense of protein coming out. So what we're gonna do is rotate them to the hottest part of the grill. And then we're just gonna take this each step at a time. We're gonna go about 5 minutes on one side, flip it 5 minutes on the other, and just keep rotating. So we flip, gonna lower the lid, about 5 minutes, we're just gonna keep them going until they're done. All right, let's take another look at our chops here so we can start basting our harissa on there. We've turned them quite a bit, got a good look on the meat. We got a good sear, good color, good everything on there. We've been flipping it every 5 minutes or so, making sure that we're not overcooking one side or the other. But we're at the time now we're gonna set in some of this harissa on it, sear that in to encapsulate it, get some of the more depth into it. So just take a spoon or a brush of your liking, spoon it on to the chops. All right, so we've got the harissa on this first side, got all the searing done. What we're gonna do is we're gonna give it a flip. Again, trying to move it to the hottest part of the grill. You might have a little bit of a flare up with this. Don't be alarmed. Just kind of make sure that you're moving it if you don't have a heat disperser between your grills, just so that you don't get a lot of flames. Now we're gonna marinate and brush the back side of this. So now we got both sides brushed. We're gonna give it one more flip to let this extra sit in there, caramelize a little bit. So now we're gonna let these rest, let them soak up the juices, then we'll cut them and plate them up. All right, we're back. Chops have rested. Juices are kind of getting back into place. We're gonna take them off, carve them up, set them out, and get a good taste. But take your knife. You'll see the bone running right down the vein. You're gonna take it, cut right up against it as close as you can, carving that off. Same for the other side. Running your knife edge right up against that bone, and then when you run into it, kind of pulling out. Just a little bit of salt over it. So we're gonna give her a good squeeze of lemon juice, or lime juice rather. Good squeeze of lemon juice. We're gonna take some of this reserved harissa. We haven't done anything to it because it kind of set and it mold, kind of developed really well with itself. So acid, salt's all perfect. Take it. We're gonna just hammer this boar with all that harissa. Add a little bit more olive oil. It helps deliver that flavor everywhere else. All right, y'all, here it is, finished product. Grilled pork chop glazed in a harissa chili condiment using that Gamekeeper's Butchery wild boar porterhouse chop. Turned out super tender and delicious. Y'all give this a try.